Blaze away.
They have stepped off, so they're on the way. They have stepped off, so they're on the way.
Blaze away, 2 rolls. 1, 2. Commonwealth on the mark. Watch out, combones, they're looking for you. More gusto. Go. 2 rolls. And we'll go after, we'll go straight.
Hello, I'm here with the Dawn Service Master of Ceremonies, Justin Smith. Justin, it's your third year as Master of Ceremonies. Take us through just what does this role entail?
Look, for me, it's trying to gather a few stories that are going to touch people and try to find a way to tell them. And I think it's about just think about being here together. Whether you're Master of Ceremonies or you're watching or you're in the march, or it's just about us being together. So I just try and focus on that. Yeah.
You have quite a unique perspective as part of the commemorations. Just what have been some of the most memorable moments for you over the past few years?
For me, I think it's about the feeling of the crowd. The thing that I always remember when I'm sort of getting ready for this, it's that moment just before you start speaking. For me, I can't see anybody because of the lights, but I can't hear anybody. Like it's just so quiet, but you can feel the energy coming off them, and that's something that just always stays with me. So if you're sort of feeling that and feeding off that, it's unique. It's a beautiful thing. It's lovely.
And just for you personally, what does Anzac Day mean to you?
Well, look, I think it's so different for everybody, I think, because and this is what I think is beautiful about something like the minute silence. And there's something I said in the speech before too, is that you get just as much in the silence as you do in the ceremony, because you take that moment to think, well, look, you think about someone from World War I, might be your father from Vietnam. For me, it's really just thinking about what people gave up for us, and to take a moment and think, look, they really did do. They really had to leave some very tough lives at one point. They did it for us. That's what I think about.
Well, Justin, it was another wonderful dawn service again today. Thank you so much, and all the best for the rest of the day.
Thank you, Leanne. Thank you very much.
I think it's important because it shows like the history of Australians and why we're still here. Not still here, but it shows our history, and yeah, I think it's important for that.
And what can you tell me about these medals that you've got on today?
They're from when my dad was in the army. I'm not really sure what he did, but he was in the Air Force for a little bit.
I'm here with Bob Brady, who has quite a special tribute to his father. Bob, do you want to just tell us a bit about this chair next to us?
Well, this beautiful man. Oh, I'm sorry. He fought for us in World War II in New Guinea for 4.5 years. He was the last remaining SIGS vet. He passed away August last year, so we miss him so much. But he got to 101.7, and he was just a genuine, beautiful father, grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, and we're just so proud of him. And this is the way we thought, well, come on, let's honour Dad for his last march. So
He's left a remarkable legacy. So
he has.
You've brought along an empty chair for him.
Yes, he's sitting there. I can see him sitting there with a big smile on his face saying, why are you silly devils being tearful? I'm having a ball. And that was my dad. He loved a joke. He drove up until 4 months before he passed. He lived by himself. He looked after himself. He sacked the cleaner because I can do a better job. That was my dad. And his mate, Len, what a beautiful man. And look, I'm just so proud. And I'm proud to be here. And this is a beautiful day. We're not here celebrating war. We're here celebrating the lives of our diggers. That's what it's all about.
Well, it's wonderful, Bob, that you've been commemorating your father's service and his sacrifice. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good on you, mate.
Well, I'm here with Brigadier John Holloway as well as his daughter Anna, both of whom are taking part in this year's Anzac Day March. John, to you first, what's it like to be leading the march?
Yeah, look, today was a really special event for me and an absolute highlight as far as any Anzac Day I've been part of. The community ability to get around Anzac Day and really demonstrate that public support for it really did demonstrate to me that the Anzac spirit is alive and well in Melbourne. Yeah.
And Anna, you've yet to march, but are you very excited?
Yes, definitely. It's a real privilege to march here, and it's with my Girl Guide unit, so yeah.
And John, you know, you've done many Anzac Days in the past, but what does it mean to you personally?
Yeah, I think Anzac Day really is a time to honour the service, the sacrifice, and indeed the courage of the veterans that have served, and also to reflect on the current serving day men and women of the ADF, and really reflect on how we can continue their legacy through the story of Anzac and how we live and embody those values on a day-to-day basis. Certainly the idea around courage, around endurance and indeed mateship, which I think sits at the centre of a lot of what the Anzac story is about, is something that I think as a community, not just in defence, we can continue to embody and go through every day. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for chatting to me, John, and as well as thank you to you, Anna. All the best for the rest of the day.
Thank you.
It means remembering people who have fought for our country to have the freedom that we have today. And it's especially special to me because my great uncle won a Victoria Cross, so it's also remembering him and you know, everyone else who served with him.
So, Omkar, what does Anzac Day mean to you?
Anzac Day means a big meaning to me, actually. That coming here for service, being with other people, and definitely like for the fallen, being there. Yeah, definitely.
And has it felt marching today?
Really well, actually. I've been with some of the captain of the RAN, instructing us how to, march and everything. It was a wonderful day, actually. Yeah.
So Freya, how much does it mean to you to take part in today's march?
Yeah, it's really important, just like getting everyone involved in the march, and it's really good also with the school showing their support for all the Anzacs, and it's really enjoyable to go and knowing that like we're helping them continue to keep their memories alive.
And what does Anzac Day mean to you?
It's really important just like knowing that like there were people that fought for our country and really were out there trying to support us all even like before we were born. So it's really awesome just knowing that there were people there fighting for us.
Again, I'm here with Robert Webster, who's the RSL State President. Robert, you're retiring from your role as State President this year. Do you want to take us through some of your memories of these Anzac Day commemorations of the past few years?
The last few years, of course, we had COVID and that knocked us around with all of the things. One year we couldn't even run it. And, we couldn't even do the footy at the MCG. And we did the ode and the bugle calls on an empty MCG. But the march has always been an important part. Anzac Day is a tremendously important part of Victoria. And you know, as I was saying earlier, you know, I can remember probably 1954 was the first one. My brother David was about 9 months old, and we met down at the Floral Clock waiting for Dad and his mates who served during the Navy. Mum saw some of her mates who she'd served with in the Women's Army service during the war, so it's ingrained. That's part of it. And then it was very special for a long time marching with my brother as a Vietnam veteran as well, and yeah, he called it quits on us during COVID, unfortunately. But it's a fabulous day, and the respect that's shown to the veterans by the crowd, the people who are at the march, it's just astounding. That people had called out to me as I walked along. Some of my former students yelled at me as I walked past, and so, you know, they're tremendous memories that we'll always hold. Will I do it again next year? Probably, but not as the state president.
So what does next year's Anzac Day commemorations look like to you?
Well, it might be here, or it might be with my sister and her family in South Australia. They're involved in the local RSL and dawn services and stuff. It could be anything, and it might be in Canberra. It depends, but I'll be here doing something. The new state president, whoever it is, will maybe have a task for me, and that's fine. And I'm not going anywhere from a point of view. I will still be part of the RSL and still be available to speak and do whatever people want me to do to make things go, make things work.
Well, thank you so much, Robert, for your role as RSL State President.
Thank you. It's absolutely my pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, welcome and good afternoon to veterans, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys. We will now begin the 2025 Commemoration and Wreath laying ceremony. And our guest speaker today is Lieutenant Colonel Simone Reynolds. Simone graduated from the Royal Military College in 2001 as a reserve officer and was appointed to the Royal Australian Corps of Signals, commencing in a full-time service in 2009. She assumed her current appointment as Staff Officer Training Headquarters Joint Training Command in January of this year, responsible for the design and evaluation of integrated communications, cyber intelligence and military police training. Simone has worked at the tactical, operational and strategic level and commanded at every rank. She recently completed her appointment as Commanding Officer of the Defence Force School of Signals and held the role of Deputy Head of Corps of the Royal Australian Corps of Signals. She has also commanded the Expeditionary Signal Squadron, 145th Signal Squadron, 139th Signal Squadron. She has seen operational service as the current Operations Officer with the Force Communications Unit Rotation 7 on Operation Slipper and as the Officer Commanding Expeditionary Signal Squadron Rotation 5 on Operation Accordion. Ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause as I now invite Lieutenant Colonel Reynolds to speak.
Professor the Honourable Margaret Gardner AC, Governor of Victoria, the Honourable Jacinta Allen MP, Premier of Victoria, the Honourable David Davis, representing the State Opposition and Shadow Minister for Veterans, Senator Raf Saccone, representing the Federal Government, Lord Mayor Nicholas Rees, Acting Chief Commissioner Rick Nugent, Dr Rob Webster OAM, President of RSL Victoria, Captain Stephen Bowater OAM, Chair of the Trustees of the Shrine of Remembrance, Lieutenant General Susan Coyle, AM, CSC DSM, Captain Ben Favell, CSC RAN, Brigadier John Holloway, Government House, Consul Generals, distinguished guests, kindred organisations, Shrine Governors, overseas visiting dignitaries, RSL State Executive, serving members, veterans, and most importantly, our families, ladies and gentlemen. As we gather here at the Shrine of Remembrance in Melbourne on the occasion of the Anzac Day commemoration ceremony and wreath-laying service, we mark the 110th anniversary of the landing at Gallipoli, and we remember the courage and sacrifice of the Australians and New Zealanders who landed at dawn at Anzac Cove. We honour the memory of the more than 103,000 Australians who have given their lives serving our nation in conflict, peacekeeping and humanitarian operations, as well as those wounded during service. We pay our respects to the families who suffered the loss of loved ones and acknowledge the impact of service on families from Gallipoli through to the present day. We also acknowledge the centenary of the establishment of the Royal Australian Corps of Signals, relied upon in every conflict, crisis and peacekeeping mission to establish communications by whatever means to ensure quick and reliable information exchange between command teams. We commemorate the service and the legacy of the 107,000 men and women who have served in its ranks and express our gratitude to the generations of families who have supported us. Our Signals community was honoured today to lead the Anzac Day marches across Australia, and especially here in Melbourne, as serving members, veterans and families march together through the streets of our city to the Shrine of Remembrance. Victoria has a proud history of producing talented signallers with thousands enlisting, training and serving in this state since the First World War to the present day. At the time of the Gallipoli landing, the signallers of the 1st Australian Imperial Force were known as sapper signallers because they were part of the Australian Corps of Engineers. Signallers like Ellis Silas enlisted into the 1st Division Signal Company and completed training north of here in Broadmeadows. They played a crucial role in relaying communications across the battlefield, including conveying orders to the front line and sending information back to the headquarters. Often, most importantly, they also conveyed information to keep the morale of the troops up through informal communication channels. Signals officers like Stanley Watson, who oversaw the building of the first pier at Anzac Cove, established the tradition of the Waterloo dinner and sent the final signal to confirm completion of the evacuation of Gallipoli. He later served on the Western Front and was awarded the Military Cross for gallantry and devotion to duty in maintaining lines of communication. Stanley Watson's medals are proudly displayed in our Corps Museum in Melbourne. The exponential demand for reliable communications during World War I was such that by the end of the war, the signals elements of the Australian forces had grown to be larger than their parent engineer corps. This era also saw the employment of motorcycle dispatch riders and the introduction of wireless and other communications technologies. So in 1925, the Australian Corps of Signals was formed after separating from the Australian Corps of Engineers. And to this day, engineer units across Australia continue the tradition of the annual Waterloo dinners, paying homage to the connection between our corps, the Superior Corps. When the government appointed General Blamey as the AIF's Commander-in-Chief in 1942, he chose a local man, Major General Colin Hall Simpson from St Kilda, to be the Army's Signals Officer-in-Chief, to oversee the rapid expansion of the Signals Corps to a strength of 25,000 personnel. Simpson also supervised the establishment and growth of the Army's Special Wireless Group, who trained in Morse code in Bonegilla and were the precursor to the Australian Signals Directorate. Simpson Barracks near Greensborough is named after Major General Simpson, and it is the home of the Corps of Signals, and to this day most communications training is conducted there and also at Cerberus on the Mornington Peninsula. By 1941, Australia had raised an army approaching 500,000 soldiers. Sir Percy Spender, the Minister for the Army, considered women to be underutilised resource in the war effort and approved the formation of the Australian Women's Army Service. The AWAS played a vital role in the war effort, providing signal support and serving with the Army's Special Wireless Group. More than 3,600 women served with the Australian Corps of Signals by the time the AWAS was disbanded at the end of World War II. Women like Phoebe Parker and Eunice Chin, who enlisted in Melbourne and served as telegraph operators, transmitting and decoding messages sent in Morse code, which provided critical information, including troop movements and intelligence reports. They remained active members of veteran groups and both celebrated their final Anzac Day last year at the ages of 104 and 103 respectively. Signallers like Jack Brady from Mildura served in New Guinea as part of the 3rd Division Signallers, maintaining communications across rugged terrain. He and his team were always on the alert to repair lines, being mindful of the threat of ambush. I met his family here today, and they proudly told me that Jack was so convinced that being a signaller was important to him that he learnt Morse code at the age of 13 at the local post office and convinced the recruiters to put him into signals. On the 10th of November 1948, in recognition of service throughout World War II, His Majesty the King George VI conferred the title Royal on the Australian Corps of Signals. The emergence of the Cold War and the threats of conflicts in Malaya and Korea led to the establishment of the Women's Royal Australian Army Corps, known as the RAC. It employed women to conduct logistics, administration, health and signals duties. And Victorian women like Vera Duane and Brenda Rusty Johnston was the first to join and perform signals duties. They've remained firm friends and they recently celebrated Rusty's 100th birthday in Kilmore. The grit and the tenacity of the women who served in the AWAS and the RAC. They bulldozed a path for women who serve today with the freedom of more choice than they experienced. Over the decades following World War II, members of the Corps of Signals served with distinction in all operational areas in which Australian troops have been deployed, both during war and peace. We're affectionately known as chooks because when we were tapping Morse code, it sounded like a chicken's beak tapping on a desk, and the moniker remains with us to this day. The Vietnam War saw a rapid advancement in technology with the use of more portable and long-range communications, and the Corps played a vital role in providing communications and intelligence support to the Australian Task Force and other units operating in South Vietnam. Signals units like 103 SIG Squadron and 104 SIG Squadron deployed to establish and maintain networks, intercept enemy communications, and locate enemy transmitters. Signallers like Barry Logan from Mildura, who was killed in action in 1967 at the age of 19 and is commemorated in the Memorial Garden at Springvale. For our Vietnam veterans, their return to Australia and re-assimilation into the community was difficult, and we acknowledge and value them as members of our veteran community. Signallers also established and maintained mission-critical communications networks during United Nations peacekeeping missions in Cyprus, Cambodia, Bougainville, Indonesia, and Somalia. About 480 Australians and 40 New Zealanders provided communications support in Cambodia between March 92 and October 93. Working in a hostile environment as a result of interfactional conflict, the Force Communications Unit provided support to the election process while maintaining the communications network at 50 locations across Cambodia. That service was recognised with the awarding of the Meritorious Unit Citation to the Force Communications Unit in the Australia Day Honours. In Somalia and Rwanda, signallers provided communications networks for security forces and to support humanitarian aid and medical staff. Signallers also served in Bougainville during the long-running conflict between the Papua New Guinea government and the separatist Bougainville Revolutionary Army. Then in 1999, Australia led a peace enforcement operation as East Timor achieved independence from Indonesia. Over 5,500 personnel and the Force Commander, Major General Peter Cosgrove, formed an integrated, multidimensional UN peacekeeping operation. Many generations of the same family have served in our Corps. Ken Mackenzie, OAM, a former Corps Regimental Sergeant Major from the Yarra Valley, served for 40 years and deployed in Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam and Indonesia. He was inspired, like many of us are, to join because of a family lineage. His parents, Ken and Rita, both served as signallers during World War II. Signallers Jack and Matt Leggett from Yallambie also continue the tradition of service, thinking of the legacy of their father Kenny, who passed away in 2023. In more recent deployments in the Middle East and the Pacific, signallers like Patrick Blake from Melbourne, who joined as an Army reservist and then transferred to the regular Army, served in Bougainville, Cambodia and Timor before serving in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's now inspiring the next generation of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander signallers. So too, Auntie Lorraine, Army's Indigenous elder and the first Aboriginal female to be promoted to warrant officer, she is inspiring the next generation. She trained in Melbourne and she served in the Special Forces Task Group in Afghanistan as the communications manager. In more recent deployments in the Middle East and the Pacific, signallers have demonstrated their expertise in skills such as electronic warfare, signals intelligence, telecommunications, information technology, and cyberspace capabilities, all essential effects to support warlike and humanitarian operations. And beyond the battlefield, signallers have been instrumental in disaster relief, recently deploying to the Pacific and locally to restore communications after natural disasters. For more than a century, The Corps has been developing and responding to emerging technology, giving the ADF a competitive edge. Army signallers have been keeping the Australian Army and the ADF connected, leading the way in technology adoption and advancement at every turn. And reflecting our motto, Certa Cito, which means swift and sure. In our centenary year, the Royal Australian Corps of Signals remains at the forefront of communications, electronic warfare, signals intelligence and cybersecurity, providing the backbone for the Australian Army in support of our joint force. The Corps continues to evolve to meet the challenges of cyber, space and electronic warfare, because we know that future conflicts are likely to be fought more in the digital domain, and our signals will be at the forefront, protecting communications, our networks and our data from emerging threats. In case your Morse code is a little bit rusty, the message that you just heard was, today we celebrate and commemorate 100 years as a Corps, Certa Cito, lest we forget.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Reynolds. I now invite Lieutenant Colonel Reynolds to read the Anzac Requiem.
On this day, above all days, we recall those who served in war and who did not return to receive the grateful thanks of the nation. We remember those who still sleep where they were left, amid the holly scrub in the valleys and on the ridges of Gallipoli, on the rocky and terraced hills of Palestine, and in the lovely cemeteries of France. We remember those who lie asleep in ground beneath the shimmering haze of the Libyan desert at Bardia, Derna, and Tobruk, and amid the mountain passes and olive groves of Greece and Crete, and the rugged, snow-capped hills of Lebanon and Syria. We remember those who lie buried in the jungles of Malaya and Burma in New Guinea, and in the distant isles of the Pacific. We remember those who lie in unknown resting places in almost every land, and those gallant sailors whose grave is the unending sea. We especially remember those who died as prisoners of war, remote from their homeland and from the comforting presence of their kith and kin. We think of the service and sacrifice of the women who gave their lives in our own and foreign lands and at sea in 2 world wars. We recall too the staunch friends who fought beside us on the first Anzac Day, men of New Zealand who helped create the name of Anzac, and all the New Zealanders who have served alongside us since. We recall all those who gave their lives in the merchant services and in British Commonwealth and Allied forces. We think of every man and woman who in those crucial hours died so that the lights of freedom and humanity might continue to shine. We think of those gallant men and women who died in Korea, Malaya, Borneo, Vietnam, East Timor, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and in peacekeeping and peace enforcing commitments to defend our freedom and preserve peace and security. May they all rest proudly in the knowledge of their achievement, and may we and our successors in that heritage prove worthy of their sacrifice, lest we forget.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Reynolds. Could I ask those participating in the official wreath-laying ceremony to take your positions on the forecourt? The Governor laid a wreath on behalf of all Victorians today, which was appropriate at the dawn service. The official wreath-laying ceremony is now an opportunity for officials to pay their respect for the sacrifice and the dedication to service given by all those in our Defence Forces in our wonderful country. It is sequenced after veterans have marched to the shrine to pay their respects at the Flame of Remembrance, and the veteran address speaking on the theme of this year's march. It also provides a fitting conclusion for this year's Anzac Day commemorative march. Representing RSL Victoria is Dr. Robert Webster, State President, and representing the Shrine of Remembrance is Captain Stephen Bowater, Chair of the Shrine. They are accompanied by Shrine Governor Lieutenant Colonel David Blackwell. Representing the Australian Defence Forces are Captain Ben Favell, Brigadier John Holloway, and Group Captain Lloyd Selleck. They are accompanied by Warrant Officer Robert Jerasavage, escorted by Mohammed Abdur Rahman, Shrine Governor. Representing New Zealand are Ms Bella Katz, Consul General, accompanied by Captain Adam Magnuson of New Zealand's Defence Force. Representing Great Britain is Mr Stephen Lysart, Consul General, accompanied by Lieutenant Colonel Pat Owen. Representing the City of Melbourne is the Lord Mayor, Nicholas Rees. Representing Victoria Police is the Acting Chief Commissioner, Mr Rick Nugent. Representing the Victorian Veterans Council is the Deputy Chair, Mr Brett West. Representing the Department of Veterans Affairs is Deputy Commissioner, Mr Michael Harper. Representing Fire Rescue Victoria is Commander Jason Deason, accompanied by Deputy Commissioner Costa Katsikas. The group is escorted by Squadron Leader Matthew Little, Shrine Governor. Representing Melbourne Legacy is Ms Kerry Jenke, President. Representing the Vietnam Veterans Association is Mr Brendan Kincaid, Vice President. Representing Carry On is Mr Rob Miller, Director. Representing the Defence Force Welfare Association is Wing Commander Mike Gahan. Representing Freemasons Victoria is Deputy Grand Master Miles King. They are accompanied by Group Captain Annette Hollien, Shrine Governor. Representing the State Government is the Honourable Jacinta Allen, MP, Premier of Victoria. Representing the State Opposition and Shadow Minister for Veterans is the Honourable David Davis, MP. Representing the Federal Government, Senator Ralph Ciccone. Lieutenant Nicholas Taylor from the Royal Australian Navy, and they are accompanied by Commander Priya Chandra, Shrine Governor. Ladies and gentlemen, I now invite any other wreaths to be laid. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the wreath-laying ceremony. I would now like to welcome Dr. Rob Webster, State President, RSL Victoria, to say a few words.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, representatives of the Australian Defence Force, representatives of our Essential Services Forces, Consul Generals, Presidents and representatives of fellow ex-service organisations, veterans, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Firstly, may I thank Lieutenant Colonel Reynolds for her informative, illustrative and inspirational address on the Royal Australian Corps of Signals. I didn't tell her before the meeting or the service that my brother served in Vietnam with 110. As we near the end of our commemorations today, I would like to begin by thanking everybody who participated in the march, to those who supported our veterans along the way, and all those who attended our dawn service. The estimate is that we had close to 50,000 people. And from where I stand, when I can see heads right at the bottom of the lower forecourt, I know we're getting close to 50,000. Today, along with Australians everywhere, we gather to remember those who served our nation, served in the defence of our country. The 110th anniversary of the day that Australia and New Zealand soldiers landed on the beach at Gallipoli. Anzac Day is and should continue to always be a day for reflection. Time to think about those who have served, about those who have lost their lives, those who continue to serve, and those families that support them. We honour the values that have been invested in our original Anzacs: loyalty, mateship, selflessness, courage, and the ways in which later generations have measured their own achievements against those of the soldiers who fought at Gallipoli. Remembering is not merely an act of tradition, it is a solemn duty that binds us together as Australians and as citizens of a free and peaceful country. To remember is to honour, and to honour is to carry forward the legacy of courage, resilience and unwavering loyalty that those brave souls embodied. Their sacrifices were not in vain. They paved the way for the freedoms that we often take for granted, the ability to express ourselves and to live without fear. The act of remembrance also connects us to our shared identity as Australians. Australian servicemen and women have developed a unique spirit, mateship, humour in adversity, unyielding determination, cunning and skillful. This spirit is part of who we are, and through remembrance we ensure it continues to inspire generations to come. But remembrance is not just about the past. It is a guidepost for the future. By reflecting on the horrors of war and the immense human cost, we strengthen our commitments to peace and unity. We teach our children the values of empathy and understanding, ensuring that they will grow up in a world where dialogue triumphs over conflict and humanity prevails over division. In remembering, we also acknowledge those who returned home carrying not only their physical scars, but also the invisible burdens of their service. Their stories teach us the importance of care and support, reminding us that service to country does not end when the guns fall silent. So let us continue to remember, not as a mere obligation, but as a profound act of gratitude and hope. Let us carry their stories in our hearts and pass them on, so that that legacy remains vibrant and everlasting. In honouring those who served and those who fell, we honour the very best of what it means to be an Australian. In closing, I would like to take this opportunity of thanking all of those involved in all aspects of planning and execution of this year's Anzac Day events. The day is largely put together by volunteers, and I would ask that you acknowledge the enormous voluntary contribution given by Colonel Jason Cook as the Chief Marshal, Brian Neal as his Chief Staff Officer, and all of those other marshals who assisted us on the day. We thank you, and on behalf of RSL Victoria, I personally thank you. To the staff of RSL Victoria, I've seen many of them very early in the morning for the first time ever. But thank you for your exceptional efforts in the planning and execution of today. To all members of the ADF, for not only their support today at the Shrine, but across Victoria in assisting local Anzac Day services and ceremonies. The City of Melbourne does a wonderful job in preparing our city to allow us to have today's commemoration. Acting Commissioner of Victoria Police, Rick Nugent, thank you for the truly outstanding support your members give not only to the veteran community, but to all people in Victoria. The Shrine of Remembrance trustees, their staff also for assistance. The bands. Turn to the bands and the heartstrings go when we see the massed bands at the end. Some of our bands march twice. Thank you for keeping us in time and moving along. To all the media, TV and radio for broadcasting this morning's dawn service, to the march for those who are at home. Our RACV volunteers, we'd be lost without them. They assist in bringing some of our older and disabled veterans to march or to sit in the tent down at the marquee down here, but they'll take them home also shortly. Wonderful members of Ambulance Victoria, St John's Ambulance, Salvation Army and the SES, your presence is always reassuring and very welcome. To our younger people, the cadets, scouts, Girl Guides, who participated today, thank you for answering the call. You should be very proud of your involvement. To all the contractors, support crew, again, thank you for your efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, thank you for observing Anzac Day with us, and I wish you a great afternoon. Good day.